Happy Monday morning, everybody. This is your friend, coach, and mentor, Scotty Hobbs. Sorry, I'm a little bit frozen. It snowed a lot last night, but I'm here to teach you one of the most important things I could ever teach you as a Team Beachbody coach, as an entrepreneur. And it is this. Remember this, write this down. The person who shares their story the most wins. The person who shares their story the most wins. So what my goal is today for you guys is to be able to teach you how to share your story. And then I'm going to share my story with you as well, in hopes that you can take this information, apply it to your life, and go out and really impact somebody, be able to influence somebody, impact somebody, and help them change their life as well. So, first things first, I'm going to tell you what it is. Number one, how you got started, how your life was before. I'm going to speak directly to Team Beachbody coaches, but this could apply to anything. Like I'm saying, if you're in your job and you want to move up through the leadership, or you're in any other, you have a profession, let's say you built a product and you're building a company, your story is going to be the thing. That's what creates your brand. So first and foremost, number one, what was your life like before you started? Okay, write that down. What was your life like before you started? And if you're on this video, comment below if you have questions. Comment who you are, where you're at. I'd love to know who's on here with me today. So that's the first thing. Number two, how has your life changed since starting? So Team Beachbody, how has your life changed since starting the programs, the products, joining the Team Beachbody community? If you're building a product, you've built a product, how has that product changed your life? Now that you have this product, now that you have this company or this purpose you're working towards, how has your life changed? How is it different than before? Number three, why are you going to continue doing this? So Team Beachbody, why are you going to continue as a coach? Why are you going to continue doing the programs? Why are you going to continue helping people with the programs? Same thing goes with, and if you guys want some great ideas on how to tell your story in a short way, watch the TV show Shark Tank. Every time you'll see the person come out, and this is the activity I want you guys to do. They come out and they pitch, right? But you'll notice the ones that are great, once in a while, if it's not in their initial pitch, they will stop. They'll slow down, and they will share their story. They'll share why this is important to them, how it's changed their life, why it's important that they're going to make this happen. I dare you to watch that, Shark Tank. So, with that being said, those are the 3 steps. This was my life. This is how my life was before. This is how it's changed since starting, and this is why I'm going to continue doing it. And the why, you guys have heard about the why, could also be called the purpose as well. So, sorry, it's cold out here. So with that being said, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit and share my story. And remember that line I gave you at the beginning. Somebody write it in the comments. The person who shares the story the most wins. So guys, here's a little key to success. As you learn this and you develop this, one of the things that sets apart a winner from somebody that does not accomplish their goals is that a winner they show up every single day no matter how they feel. They don't make their choices based on how they feel each day. Like I could wake up this morning and be like, it's cold outside, I didn't get enough sleep, baby kept me up till 2, I'm not going to take my run this morning. But that would be making decisions off of choice, and too many people do that in life and business. And so you have to make the decision of what you're going to do and then manage that decision every single day. So that's going to be one of the biggest keys to success. And if you are building a business or you're an entrepreneur, think about this in this light. If you, for example, are not showing up because you don't feel like it, or you didn't sleep enough, or you're going through a struggle or trial, if you did that in your job, like let's say there's a very important meeting, or you have to show up and hit this deadline for your work, and you don't show up because you don't feel like it, you're going to get fired. So it's important that you remember that and apply that aspect into business as well. I don't know where people miss that gap and think like building a business is easier than being an employee of some sort. That's a huge misunderstanding. So with that being said, you've decided that you're going to show up and tell your story, because the person who tells their story the most wins. It's no surprise. I'm not super talented. I'm not super gifted with one-on-one conversations, with getting super amped up and enthusiastic, but I am super committed to keeping my commitment of showing up, getting in state, doing the simple activities every single day, and working in my strengths. So with that being said, I'm going to give you guys an example of telling your story. In 2010, I remember being overweight, about 40 pounds. I wasn't obese, but I was overweight. I was tired every single day, working 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week, and on Saturdays I went in for 5-6 hours every morning. I remember my wife leaving for work in the evenings. I remember different times we had our daughter in daycare at one point. Then we had them watched by a neighbor, and then they went to another neighbor. And that was our life, day after day after day, year after year, of just working separate shifts, never seeing each other, taking our daughters to daycare or to a neighbor's house, picking them up, and just raising our children separately. And so I'm super unhealthy. This is how we're working. I'm exhausted all the time. My idea of having energy was 5-hour energy shots, drinking Rockstar Energies, Monster Energy drinks on my lunch break, and then just crashing in my car at lunch with a big quilt in my, just sleeping for my lunch break. And that was my life. And it was just over and over and over and over. And then I remember I was inspired by a neighbor. He had this amazing transformation, a body transformation at the gym, and he did some of it at home, and it wasn't even with Beachbody. But I asked him, how can I get in shape? Like, what can I do? And he invited me to go to the gym with him. He trained the high school football players, strength trained them. And so I just remember asking him, what can I do? And he said, come with me. I'm inviting you to come to work with me. And I said, sweet, let's do it. I'm ready to change my life. I want some energy. I want to be healthy and fit. I want to be ripped and jacked like you. I'm sick of this dad bod. And I remember him just telling me, okay, meet me at 6 o'clock. And I just remember just like, disappointed. And the reason is because I had to be to work at 5:30, so I couldn't go. So I said the next thing, what else could I do? And he said, you should try that P90X workout. Well, I got P90X, I was excited to do it, and I still hadn't jumped on board. And then I remember I was laying on my couch upstairs, and I remember watching my wife finish a P90X workout and then run up and down the stairs. And that was it for me. She inspired me in that moment to pick it up and start. And I remember starting, and I committed 100%. I made a decision and managed the decision daily to start and finish P90X. I got an accountability partner at work. We worked through the P90X together, and I lost 38 pounds in 90 days. Now here's the cool part. I had inspired some people. They'd asked me questions, and I just felt great being able to say, have someone look at that and the hard work I'd done in completing that program and say, hey, what did you do? And I showed them how to do P90X. I showed them what I was doing. But I think the bigger thing was I remember making a little transformation video, and I remember finding my coach Lindsay on YouTube. And I watched her transformation video, I emailed her, and we talked on the phone. And she shared with me how she had done P90X just like me, how she was working as a bartender, how she had her daughter and she had medical complications at her birth. And she shared with me that by helping people with P90X and these workouts, she was able to walk away from bartending. And not only that, but she was home with her daughter, there present for her where she needed her, but that she was also working towards paying off that medical debt that she incurred with Beachbody, helping people. Now, many of you guys are thinking like, okay, that's it. He signed up to become a coach. But I did not. It impacted me. And when she shared that, I thought, man, that's why I'm working 12-hour shifts. That's why my wife's working nights, because we can barely keep up with our mortgage. And I just thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the answer for me. And I remember that I let fears and doubts and insecurities about myself hold me back from becoming a coach. And I let them hold me. People ask me, when did you start as a coach, Scotty? And I tell them all the time, I started 9 months later, 8 months, 9 months later than I should have. I should have started that day that she reached out to me. But we know that all things happen for a reason. But 8 months passed. I continued doing the Beachbody programs. I completed P90X 4 times. And I just remember sitting at work one morning. And there's 2 things that happened to me that morning. I got there, I always had this habit of picking up my mail at the mailbox. And I would take it, I would arrive to work early, and I'd open them up, throw the junk mail in the shipping room where I worked as well. And then I would stuff in my lunchbox all the bills. And this morning particularly was April 11th, 2011. And it was 18 days after the birth of my daughter, Alina. And I remember opening the bills before the bell rang for work that morning. And I remember it was the doctor bill, the anesthesiologist bill, the hospital bill. All these bills. There was even an ear doctor bill. And I just remember reading them, and I had this weight. Like this heavy weight that felt like was pushing down on my shoulders. And it was like, and I had felt like this slightly before, laying in bed at night sometimes, but it felt like the world was spinning around me. And I remember sitting there, and I just got scared. Those thoughts came through my mind, like, do I get another job? How do I work more hours? Does my wife need to get a higher paying job? How much is the babysitter going to cost for 3 kids versus 4 kids? Like, what could we change? And I remember thinking, this is it. Like, Beachbody is it. The thing that Lindsay shared with me 8 months ago is it. Becoming a coach is it. And that morning, my fear of not knowing how to take care of my family became greater than my fear of failing as a coach. And that's the day that I started as a Team Beachbody coach. And I made a decision that day, a choice, that I would work as hard as I possibly could, that I would earn $10,000 with Beachbody. I didn't know how, but I would earn an extra $10,000 a year with Beachbody so that my wife would not have to work anymore. I didn't care about me not working the extra hours, because I was willing to work for my family, but I did not want her working anymore and having to worry about how to pay that mortgage. So that day I made that choice on April 11, 2011 to help as many people with P90X as I possibly could so that I could be able to bring my wife home from work. Some might think that's selfish, but I did that because I wanted to bring my wife home. Now, here's another thing that happened that same week. Is I remember hopping onto Facebook and seeing all of these posts, selfies with Tony Horton, with Shaun T, and they were on a cruise ship. And I remember just saying, like, getting so frustrated, mad, upset inside that I was sitting in a cubicle doing something that I didn't love, while all these people, Beachbody coaches, were on a Success Club trip, celebrating, working out with the celebrity trainers, and enjoying life. And I thought, I need that in my life. I deserve that. Like, I'm a hard worker. I have a great transformation. I could put in the work. I deserve to be doing that. I deserve to be taking my wife on vacations like that and enjoying life and not sitting here 6 days a week. So those two things right there, the fear of not knowing how to take care of my family, helped me overcome the fear of failing as a coach. And number two is I decided that I was going to create that better life, and this was the vehicle for me. Team Beachbody was the vehicle for me. Now that was like my reason to dig in, go for it, and do what I knew it took. I did all the training. I did exactly what my coach said. Showed up on every team call, and then I remember asking Lindsay, "How do I bring what do I need to do to make $10,000 a year with Beachbody, and how do I do that? How do I articulate those number-wise?" And she said, "You need to hit Success Club 10 every month. You can do that. I believe you could bring your wife home from work, and I also know that you'll earn that trip, Success Club trip." So I set that goal, I visualized every day, and I worked hard towards it. And that was my why. That's why I started this. That's my story of how I got started with this. It was 8 months into my journey. I remember being sick with what some would call the man cold. And I was feeling tired, exhausted. Had laid in bed for 3 days. And I just remember my wife came in, it was a Friday, and she said, "Hey, and you wives know what this is like with your husband." She says, "I bet you'll start feeling better if you get up, maybe get dressed, walk down the cul-de-sac and pick up Kina from the school bus. She's going to be home in a few minutes." So I got up, I got dressed, I put on my jacket, and I started walking towards the school bus. And I remember I was halfway down the cul-de-sac, and I remember the bus pulled up, and I remember the sound of it like it was yesterday, the squeaking of the tires, the squeaking as the door opened, and I see from around the corner of the entrance of the bus, this little, at the time, 5-year-old girl step out, reach her hands down, grab the handrails, and she looked up at her daddy, and I saw this smile. I saw this joy that I don't think I'd really recognized or really saw before in her. And it was because I'd never picked her up from the bus. This was the excitement of her seeing her daddy there to walk her home from the school bus. And I remember in that moment saying, that's why, like, people ask me all the time, how did you go from wanting to make $10,000 a year so your wife could come home to wanting to do this as your full-time career? And that was the moment. That was the time in the universe and in my life that shifted. Because that day I realized if I continued doing what I was doing, working hard, that I could not only bring my wife home from work, but that I could also be a full-time Beachbody coach. And that's